Hello, everyone. I am Leyland Simmons, the director of dance at the Harlem School of the Arts, and I'm very excited for today. Thank you all for joining me. I'm very excited to be here. We have another episode of our HSA at Home Dance Masters series. These last few weeks have been very, very beautiful. We have so much going on in the world. So much to talk about. It's quite painful, reflecting on what's happening in the current events. But I'm just hoping that, through these interviews, we're able to, just experience some hope and some kind of positivity, especially for our families, and for our young people. Today we have a really, really awesome guest. She is a former dancer with the Dance Theatre of Harlem, and she's currently a first soloist with the Boston Ballet. She is an awesome, awesome, awesome artist. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful performer. She is Miss Chyrstyn Fentroy, and I'm going to bring her on the line now. So let me bring her on. All right, just waiting. She's coming. She's coming. Very excited. Chyrstyn, how are
Hello.
you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm hanging in there. It's a lot going on right now.
Yeah,
Trying
there's
to
a
stay,
lot to process.
trying to stay. It's a lot to process. Trying to stay positive and stay in the good spirits and all. But it's heavy right now. For our young people who are taking in all of this, it's a lot.
All of us.
I mean, and yes, for all of us. They were hit with COVID, and then now all of this, and so my concern is just the mental health and the traumatic effects that this will have on them. But we're gonna push through. But thank you so much for joining me.
I'm happy to be here.
I just want to know, so talk to me about where you were when the COVID took place and what you were doing, and how this is just kind of like totally shifted your life.
Yeah, I guess it seems like it was such a long time ago now. We had just finished a run of a program, and we were teching for another program that was going to open right after. We were actually on stage. We had dress rehearsal the night before with our press and everything that we usually do, and we were getting notes from the rehearsal before opening night of the show, and they canceled the show earlier in the day. So we were on stage literally when we were sent home, and I've basically been home since, and that was early March. So
Yeah. So yeah, early March. It's like where did the time go? And now here we are, June 1st, and it's like sheltering in for all these months. It's like going a little stir crazy. I guess I want to go back to the very beginning. You as a student at one time, or even before that. How did you find yourself in the world of dance? Talk to me about the very beginning.
Well, both of my parents are dancers. My mom was a professional ballet dancer, and my dad was a commercial dancer. So I was kind of raised in a mix of different kinds of dance. And so I grew up at the studio because my mom was a teacher. I spent a lot of time there as a child, and she, I think, initially put me into dance to keep me busy when she was rehearsing, or, yep. or teaching class, but then it became something that I wanted to do myself, and one thing led to another. I actually didn't know that I wanted to be a professional dancer, though, for a very, very long time.
Okay. Wow. And so she used to train you, correct? As you said.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
What was that like, having your mom as your teacher? I can't imagine. I know what it was like having my mom, because my mom was a teacher, but not a dance teacher. So, she was like always on me about my academics, but I can't imagine what it would have been like had she been, my dance instructor. What was that like?
I think every like parent-student relationship is unique to them. For me, I don't think I really learned to appreciate it until I got older and actually did kind of pursue a professional career. I played around a lot in class,
Okay.
and I think I got away with a lot of things. But at the end of the day, now as an adult, I can turn to her um, and ask her for help because she's been through a lot of the same things that I have been. When my body hurts or when I'm tired or if I'm performing a certain ballet, sometimes she has like ideas for me to kind of step into a role a specific way. But as a kid, I think it was more of one of those like head-butted relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're from Are you from California, correct? Are you from California?
Yes.
And so you began dancing in California. Where did you go after California? Because I know you found your way to New York, but if I'm not mistaken, you were training somewhere else before you found your way to New York. Were you?
No, I was in California until I was almost 18, and then I moved to New York.
You made the jump. And so you came
Yeah,
to New York and you auditioned for Dance Theatre of Harlem, or where did you?
I was training at the Joffrey Ballet School in New York for 2 years. I was in their trainee program there, and I was in what they had at the time was a small touring company, a student company. So I did that for 2 years before actually auditioning for DTH and getting in.
Okay, beautiful. And so, what inspired you, or what led you to auditioning for Dance Theatre of Harlem?
Well, Dance Theatre of Harlem was a company that my mom introduced to me at a really young age. He always spoke really highly of that company and of others, but it was something that she had mentioned to me a lot, although I didn't know much about many ballet companies as a kid,
Right.
just because I wasn't really interested in ballet for quite a while.
Wow.
So when I heard that Dance Theatre of Harlem was holding their first auditions since the company had been on hiatus, of course I wanted to go because I was not only looking for my first professional job, but I also was interested in being around a unique group of artists that I had never met or worked with their style or understood, or pursuing my career in a way that maybe I hadn't considered before. And so I went just kind of hoping that they would notice me, and there were so many people there because it was the first year. There were something like 200 people there. They split the group into the class into two groups, and I was there from like something like 10 o'clock in the morning until like 6 o'clock at night auditioning. It was insane.
Wow, what a long day, but you made it.
Yeah, it was a really long day.
Yeah, you never know. That's life with the dance world, especially with auditions. You just never know.
Yeah.
You're the one, and sometimes it all works out, and sometimes life will take you in a different direction. But that's amazing.
Yeah.
So you talk to me about your time at Dance Theatre of Harlem. Were there any roles that you really enjoyed performing? Because the company was just coming back, and you were part of this new, the new ensemble. So talk to me about that.
I think it was definitely a really great experience for me. I think I wouldn't change that being my first company for anything. I was exposed to a lot of different kinds of audiences, and that allowed me to get experience really quickly. I learned a lot about myself as a person, about what I wanted with my career and what I wanted with my life. And I learned that I had a voice, and that is so coming in handy today. But one of my favorite roles, I'd have to say, is the one that is in the picture. Chyrstyn is definitely one of my favorites. It was really challenging. It's a really challenging pas de deux, but after learning Agon as my first Balanchine ballet, Chyrstyn being my second, getting to touch into Balanchine's choreographed musicality in a way that isn't to Stravinsky.
Right.
Getting to play with that and have fun and learn to like really enjoy myself and be free in the realm of ballet, that kind of made that role speak to me. I also really loved this duet that was created on Dance Theatre of Harlem by Helen Pickett called When Love. And we performed that. I actually performed both duets with my fiance Jorge Biarini, who was also in the company, obviously. And so I think that When Love was a ballet that was really instrumental to me learning how to be me in my movement, and I'm grateful for having that moment, because without that light bulb, I don't think I'd be where I am today.
Awesome, awesome. So you danced with Dance Theatre of Harlem, which was, at the time it was a smaller company than the Boston Ballet. Talk to me about what that transition was like as you eventually transitioned from Dance Theatre of Harlem to Boston Ballet, which is a bigger company. I guess I just want to what was that like? Because it's like small group, now it's like more people.
It was really scary.
Yeah.
I had never been in a big company environment. I didn't train in one. I didn't know, and all I knew was all these horror stories that you hear about ballet companies and people being mean and all of these other things and ideas that come with it. And I was so scared. But I really was hungry for that change. I loved my time at Dance Theatre of Harlem. I grew a lot. I learned a lot. But I had never performed as a professional in a full-length classical ballet because the company is too small to have enough people to do that. Right. I had never even done a full-length professional Nutcracker. I had performed as a guest artist in schools, but never like fully in a Nutcracker. And I was really hungry for that. I really wanted to experience that before I got to a point where I wasn't going to be able to anymore. And so I started to look at my options. I started looking to see what company spoke to me with their mission and with their artists and with their repertoire. And Boston Ballet was one that came back to my attention over and over again, because their repertoire is really fantastic here. Yeah. And they have a quite diverse company, although I am the only African-American woman in the company currently. And the first of 10 years when I joined, I still feel like this company is very open and diverse, and especially in this time, I hate to say this like over and over again, but especially in this time, I'm learning how much they are here to listen to me.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
You have a space like that, because I know for, many African Americans in ballet companies, especially women, the isolation and the lack of support, it can feel very, very, very frustrating. And so I'm just glad that you are in a place where you feel like you are heard and you are supported.
Yeah, I'm really happy here. And I feel like I made the right decision for me in that moment. And I also feel like I was very welcomed, not only by the company, like as an organization, but as the dancers as well.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. You've risen to the rank of first soloist in a few years.
Yeah.
How long have you been with the company?
This was my third season.
Your third season, right? So now you're a first soloist. And so I just want to know, what do you think, aside from talent, helped you rise? Because I'm always getting on my students about the work ethic and being consistent and making sure you're always in class, ready to go on time. All those like little things. And sometimes they're like, but like, good for them to hear from professionals, right? Who are succeeding and excelling in their companies or, their organizations. So I don't know if you can talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, I do think like all of those things kind of fall under talent, in the sense that having the commitment to working that hard, I think, is a talent in itself. It's not everyone has that drive in them. Yeah. But yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with my hunger to grow and to learn. I feel like I am always looking for ways to improve, and that's so important. Just as any type of artist, I think that for me, especially, the part of the reason why they see me so much is because I really am not afraid to share my joy while I'm dancing. And I think that that reads to the audiences, at least from what I hear from people, that people can feel that and they can see that, and they connect with me on that level. And but I spend a lot of time thinking about every task that I'm given.
Yeah.
When I have a specific role, I not only do research on what it is that is required of me, and what the steps are and how other people do them, and how I could do them, but I spend a lot of time thinking about what is this role that is created, and how can I be me in this role? So being respectful to what the role is meant to be, I find a way to still be myself. I'm never trying to, or rarely trying to, put on something that isn't unique to me, that isn't my personality within something that is created already. And I think that has helped me be seen a little bit, and allowed me to stand out.
Yeah. Okay. Would you say that there's a little bit of an obsessive side that one has to have when it comes to, really being, I don't want to say really being, but just to almost take the work home? Do you take the work home, or once you leave, it's like you shut off? Like, because I know for some dancers, they've said, they are so obsessed with the work, they take it home.
Yeah.
But a lot of times they're the ones who, rise to the top because they're so connected to what it is that they do.
Yeah, well, I think that that there is like a little bit of an obsessive part to all of us, especially as artists. Like, that if you weren't in love with what you did and you weren't like slightly obsessed with it, why would you do it? There's so much that is demanded of you, and especially this art form. It's hard and it's tiring, but I do take things home with me, and that's what I mean by, like, I spend time thinking about them. I know for a fact that I'm not very good at things the first time I try them, but I take the time away. I think about it. I process it. I let it settle. I get angry sometimes, and then come back with a new approach, and sometimes more successful.
Great. That's so honest. That's great. No, it's that transparency that it's like good for people to hear that. They need to know that, especially if they want to pursue a career that is just so demanding, mentally and physically.
I think it has to come from love, from your love for it.
Yeah, no, you're right. I agree. Now that you are a first soloist, talk to me about some of the pressures that come with being a first soloist and the job that you have to do. You're out there, doing more lead roles as opposed to ensemble work. So, and if you experience anxiety, how do you kind of manage, or what do you do,
I definitely experience anxiety. That is something that is very real to me. I have a lot of what I call imposter syndrome. And I've heard the phrase used before too, feeling like sometimes I don't belong where I am, and am I on it? Like, am I in this place for an honest reason, or is it for another reason? So I struggle with that a lot, and it gives me a lot of anxiety. But I remind myself how hard I've worked to get here, and that usually kind of helps me. And then I go back to that, like, finding the unique thing, and that like brings the joy back into what I'm doing when I'm feeling anxious about it. This year was really unique and hard because it was my first year as a first soloist. So my first year in the company, I was in the quarter ballet. My second year as a second soloist, which meant that I was like in the middle ground. And this year I was first soloist. So my first year, I was dancing quite a bit. I was doing not only principal roles, soloist roles, but also all of the quarter ballet roles. So my first performance with Boston Ballet was in a principal role, actually. A really unique story that I could tell later, but it involved an injury and me getting tossed on stage in the last minute.
So talk about that. I mean, because you have to be ready. You never know when you're thrown out there.
No, so, it's true. I was understudying a role that was being created on someone else for a ballet called Sibelius Fifth Symphony, created by Yorma Elo, our resident choreographer. And during the opening night of the performance, the girl that I was the only cover. The girl that I was covering got injured. She tore her calf, and and I was in the audience watching, and I knew something was wrong because she didn't come back on stage, and all of the blood like left my face, I'm sure. And the ballet masters came up to me as soon as the show was over and were like, so you've been in rehearsal, you're ready, you're gonna be fine. I was panicking, but I was paying attention, and I knew that it was a possibility. And it goes back to my training and being told to always be ready. I used to love learning everyone else's parts in the studio. There was one time I learned a male solo, and I ended up doing it on stage once because I was always doing it in the back. So that's just kind of my personality anyway. But yeah, so I was ready, and we had a like 20-minute walkthrough before the show. The next show was a matinee. 20-minute walkthrough, and I went on, and we did it. And I did the rest of the shows of that, and that was my welcome to Boston. That was my first time dancing on the Opera House stage. So
wow.
So yeah, my first year with the company, I experienced a lot of roles. I was busy a lot. I was working a lot. My second year was the same because I was still in that middle ground. I was still dancing quarter ballet roles, and I was also dancing soloist roles. So it was very similar to my first year. But this year, because I'm a first soloist, I'm no longer able to be cast in quarter ballet roles. So I had a lot more free time.
Wow.
And so I can only be in soloist things, and there are less of those options. So Nutcracker, I was incredibly busy because there are a lot of soloist roles in Nutcracker.
Right.
But for our opening program, Giselle, there are much less roles for principals and soloists. It's either you're like dancing or you're not. And so I had to learn how to not only tell myself that it's okay to not be involved in everything, and to still know that I'm talented and I'm working and my work is seen. That was a learning curve.
Right.
But also to find I had to learn how to keep my body in shape and how to take care of myself during my off time.
Excellent. So, you guys do such a eclectic, rep of work. Who have been some of the choreographers that you have enjoyed working with, or ballets that you've enjoyed performing? I don't know if you could just talk about that.
Yeah. So I'd say my favorite living choreographer that I've worked with is definitely William Forsythe. I also, because of the ballet One Love, really that's one of my turning points in my career. Yes, that's Bill right there.
There he is. Choreographer of our time. One of the choreographers of our time.
So Helen Pickett's ballet One Love was really a turning point for me, but I also really, really love Balanchine's work. I really connect with his musicality and his playfulness and his movement. One of my favorite things about dancing is dancing with the music, being the music and feeling that like coming through my body. And I think that I can do that very clearly and still make choices in Balanchine's work. I really love syncopations, and they make me really happy. So there's a lot of that in Balanchine. So I think as far as his work goes, Tchaikovsky Pas de Deux was really fun. I learned principal role in Piano Concerto No. 2 or Ballet Imperial, but I also danced the quarter ballet. I never performed the principal role. And the quarter ballet was incredibly fun and so unifying and exhausting. And I think probably my favorite quarter ballet role I've performed this far. We also just did Agon, which I also did at Dance Theatre of Harlem.
Right.
I danced the second pas de trois at Dance Theatre of Harlem, the solo girl. And here I got to dance the pas de deux, which was a huge challenge for me, but was still like a great learning experience. And I still enjoyed every moment of dancing at Balanchine work.
That's awesome. So when it comes to like traveling and touring, is that something that you enjoy doing? Because I've spoken to some dancers love to tour, and some dancers are like, not so much. Touring, because I tell my young people, if you end up dancing with the company or on tour, you're going to travel. So, you want to like make sure that you're starting now to eat healthy, because when you travel, you don't know what the food's going to be like, you have to drink water and all that stuff. So talk to me about a little bit about your experiences with touring.
I don't mind touring. When I was with Dance Theatre of Harlem, we toured a lot. We were on the road a lot, and after a while, it got really hard for me, just because of my workload. I had a lot of hard work that of like in pieces that I was doing there, and I was often in 3 or 4 ballets a night, which is there are no complaints there.
Right.
But on the road, when you don't know what kind of a floor you're going to be dancing on, and sometimes it's slipperier, and you don't know what kind of food you're going to get, or whether you're going to get enough sleep, because you don't know like what kind of hotel you'll be at. Not that there'll be bad hotels, but just you don't know what your body's going to react to. And so that was really hard. But I do like touring. I've been on 2 more tours since I left Dance Theatre of Harlem last year, or 3 actually. Last year, Boston Ballet toured to Paris, and that was incredible. And definitely something that I'll remember for a very long time. And this year we toured to Jacob's Pillow, which was very close to us. It's in Massachusetts, and also to Canada, to Ottawa. And I think because I'm doing it less regularly, and I don't have to spend as much time away from home and away from my dog and my friends and what I'm used to, I think I enjoy it a lot more now.
Yeah. Awesome. You know, I noticed, I saw you on Instagram that you started choreographing. You know, talk to me about, you know, choreography. Is this something that you had interest in doing? I mean, it's often a natural progression, a natural, you know, stepping stone for dancers. But I always think it's so nice because I see few, you know, African-American women choreographers, you know, like within the ballet aesthetic. So I'm always like, ooh, nice, you know, because it's just so few of them.
Yeah.
So I want to know about, you know, choreography. You know, is it something that you have an interest in exploring more of, or?
Yeah, I think so. I used to play around with choreography when I was a kid. I enjoyed creating dances more than doing them probably when I was little.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I created an entire story ballet to the soundtrack to Hunchback of Notre Dame, the Disney movie,
Oh, wow.
when I was a kid.
I love it.
So I liked creating movement and storylines from a long time ago. And after that, I choreographed some solos for friends of mine or peers. But I had never done anything bigger. And Boston Ballet had this thing called Choreograph Her that they did last year. They also brought it back this year. And I decided to participate, and I created not only the ballet with the biggest cast, but also the longest ballet, and they used it as the closer of the show. So,
wow.
So I like bit off a big piece, but it was a really cool experience, and I would definitely do it again. It was hard and scary because I was juggling my rehearsal workload, but also trying to create and produce something that I felt proud of. And I didn't want to back out. There were moments where I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. This is dumb. But I didn't want to back down. And at the end of the day, I'm proud of what I produced, and I was really happy. And oftentimes it brought me to tears to watch them perform.
Wow. Yeah, choreography is beautiful. You know, I just want to know like a little bit more, like, you know, what have been some of the biggest challenges that you've experienced throughout your career? You know, I know some people have experienced injury. Some people have, you know, expressed, you know, working with challenging directors and this and that.
Yeah.
You know, what have been some of the biggest challenges for you throughout your career?
I think the thing that I've struggled with the most was self-doubt. And it's something that I struggle with probably every day. And I probably will, even when I'm not a dancer, because I think that's just part of who I am. A lot of it comes from who I am in my genes. Being mixed, not really ever feeling like I belonged as a person in life. And I think that kind of carried forward into my art.
Yeah.
So I think that I am always fighting that you're not good enough or you don't belong voice that's in my head. But I'm learning how to love myself more and more every day, and how to accept what I have to offer and know that that's enough. And anyone that thinks otherwise doesn't need to see it.
Right.
So I don't have like the perfect ballet body. I don't have crazy artsy feet. I don't have crazy extension, but I have my voice and I have my artistry and I have my love for moving. And I have to remind myself often that's enough.
Yeah, I know that's right. I mean, well, I just want you to know you are an inspiration to so many girls, of all ethnicities. And men like myself, I'm just totally always been a fan. But so many young people I know who I've approached and have always said, "My God, she's amazing. She's amazing." So just remember that you are an inspiration. Last thing I want to ask you, I saw on your Instagram, you were out at the Lives, Black Lives Matter rally, and I
Yeah.
noticed that you were in the crutches. What happened? I didn't know you were in. Like, what? Tell me about this.
I had been struggling with pain in my left ankle all season, and kind of stupidly biting my tongue and kind of pushing through. I didn't really know what it was. I had done a lot of tests on it. We weren't really sure, so I didn't want to back down and like just ignore it. I didn't want to take the time away from it, or I didn't really know what to do, so I didn't really talk about it, and I just tried to mask it. I would put creams on my leg. I would take Advil. I would put a compression sleeve on. I clung to my compression sleeve like it was life, although I'm pretty sure it didn't do anything for me.
Yeah.
So I had a problem with my FHL tendon, and I had to have that cleaned out, and I had surgery on it about 2 weeks ago. So I'm recovering. I'm really excited, actually. I'm really optimistic about having this time away from the studio and not having that, as they call it, FOMO, the fear of missing out, because nobody else is in the studio either. So I have this break so I can have the peace of mind to heal, and not feel like I need to rush myself into getting back quickly. But yeah, that's what happened. So, but I needed to be there, and I went back and forth about whether I should go, because it was still, again, it was 2 weeks today that I had surgery. So, so I didn't feel like I was physically ready, but it was really important to me to be there, and I will continue to be there. Especially now that I know that I can make it. So.
Yeah. That's great. Well,
I didn't march with people.
You didn't
stood there, but
I saw you out there though. I said, "Get it," which I can.
Yeah.
It's like that's awesome. That's awesome. I guess my last thing I just want to maybe ask is, for everyone and our young people, but for everyone, what, I guess more so to the youth, what advice would you give them right now, especially these dancers who are dealing with, the COVID, and now they're dealing with, the violence, that has taken place, that they're seeing, against Black bodies and the police, what advice would you give them? Because many of them, my students are very, very down in the dumps right now, and I'm really trying to keep them encouraged and in the right frame of mind, and trying to, help them stay optimistic about the future. But it's just it's a tough time for everybody, but for the kids, it's like, ugh. I mean, is there anything you would possibly say to them?
I know that it's probably been said 1,000 times, but just remind yourself that we really are all in this together, especially in the arts. We are all struggling, but we have our art and we have our love for the arts. So you have to remind yourself of that. Stay motivated, talk to your friends, share your work with your friends and let them motivate you. Have conversations, talk about how you're feeling, and keep working. Your body moving, it creates endorphins and it makes you feel better inside. And so if you can just get yourself to keep moving, then you'll feel a little bit better emotionally. And also, as artists, we have our art as our voice, and we have to use that to bring people together. If we can't physically be together, we have to use our art to unify the people. We have to use our voices, and we have to share our opinions and share our experiences, share what we want, share how we want it. And we can do that through movement. You can do that through painting. You can do that through singing. You can do that through speaking. And so I think it's important to just stay inspired and inspire each other and keep working, and just know in your heart that we are going to get out of this okay, and we're going to make it.
That's right. That's right. Well,
Trust.
Chyrstyn, it has been a pleasure having you with us today. Thank you so much. You know, you really, really encouraged me. I know our young people will be inspired by the words that you said. So honest, so eloquent, so truthful. You know, again, thank you so much for being a part of our HSA at Home Dance Master Conversation. Um, and I
Thank
just
you.
want to
It
say,
was a pleasure to be here.
yes, and stay safe, stay healthy. You know, we
Yeah.
keep going out to those rallies.
Yeah.
Gotta keep
Yeah. I'll
fighting.
see you all out there.
And to everybody at home, you know, if you have a child that wants to dance, sing, act, we have a place for you at DTA. I mean, at Harlem School of the Arts. Wrong program. We have a place for you at Harlem School of the Arts. Look out for our summer intensive classes and our programming for the remainder of the week. Thank you again, Chyrstyn. I can't wait to see all of the amazing things that you're going to continue to do in your career. I am a fan. You have a fan
Thank you.
here, and you are part of our family. So just know that we'll be bringing you in soon. Again.
Thank you.
Thank you.